Welcome to BadgerBlitz TV, your Rivals.com source for all things Wisconsin athletics. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined as always by my good friend, Rivals.com national analyst Clint Cosgrove. Clint, it's great to see you. It's the best time of the week.
Best time of the week. Time to be awesome.
Let's be awesome today. A lot of just positive vibes coming out of Badgerland right now, Clint. A lot of positive vibes. And I think really one of the first dominoes to fall because of those vibes is the commitment of Austin Alexander. That came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. Badger fans, we heard the bat signal went up. Okay, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Literally no one I know, no one on the boards was talking that it was going to be Austin Alexander. But man, this is an absolute gem. I love this kid. I love his frame. He's long, lanky, everything you want in today's defensive back, cornerback type of, a prospect. When you look at just the combination of speed and length, I really like this kid. Clint, you had a great interview with him. A little bit of a shy kid, right? It's a little tough for him to come out of shell, but just seems like a genuinely great kid. Make sure you guys go back and watch that with Clint. So just talk about his game a little bit, and then we're going to break down some tape.
Okay. Well, the first thing, like you said, length. He's tall, he's long, he's athletic. He can flip his hips. A lot of guys with his height and length don't have the same type of body control. They can't transition their weight out of breaks. He's so natural in everything he does. And at the same time, and I know this might sound contradictory, but he's so raw and so natural. He's raw from a physical standpoint because he is so thin right now, but he's not afraid to come down and lay the wood either. I mean, this kid can run. My biggest question when you turn on the film is how fast is he? Supposedly he ran in I think around 4.43 at the Lindenwood camp over the summer. But you love everything you see about him on film. He has great instincts. He can close. His closing speed when the ball's in the air, when you combine that with his length, he can make a play on the ball, even if a receiver is able to get separation. He does a little bit of everything. This is a true cover corner with true length, true size. He could end up being 190 pounds at 6'1". Plus maybe, very long arms. You see him high point the ball there. He's a competitor. He sees the field well. You see him trigger real quick there, come down and run support. So he's not just your typical cover corner. This is a kid who can go out there and hit. He can play a boundary corner. We come in, as a cloud corner, come in and run support. There isn't anything this kid can't do. Amazing job by Wisconsin. And I know Alva Hansbrough had a big part of that, of the recruiting department, identifying the kid and really, recruiting him. And you talk about him being shy on the interview. He had never done a recruiting interview. He only had the one offer. But that brings me back to the point that this is the direction Wisconsin needs to go if they want to be a competitor for big-time teams. If they do not offer this kid first, if they do not get him on campus, if they do not get him to commit, all of a sudden, with Illinois' success, that's going to be a pretty good-looking program to him. And then you'll get your Michigans. I wouldn't put the Ohio States of the world out of this. Wisconsin will not be his last offer. This will be contested. But this kid can play football. He's just scratching the surface. My comp to him was actually Sauce Gardner. And, similar level of ability and rawness coming out of high school. But this kid is just a natural man-to-man corner, but has great range as well. And like I said, this is the blueprint. If you want to go and steal kids from another state, you can't be afraid to trust your evaluation and go all in on them.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
A team like Wisconsin, if Ohio State offers before you, I hate to say it, unless they're not a take for Ohio State, you're not going to beat them. So fantastic job. I mean, I think this shows the direction the program could go in the future. And you could be seeing more of this.
Yeah,
but,
we've talked
this kid's going to be special.
We've talked here about just the importance of getting in early on these kids. And so, I mean, we're seeing this already with Jimmy, even as an interim coach, right? Getting in on these kids early. I mean, 2024, it's not really early, right? This is a prime time for 2024 kids. It's not even early, but even for a kid who's maybe a little bit of a late bloomer, not as well known, not a national recruit yet. You get in on them early before they blow up. And I know that's one of the things that Wisconsin
Yep.
has been trying to do and needs to do at the tight end position. We've talked about Christian Bentancur here before, the super athletic national recruit at tight end. Any updates on him? They just offered last week Rob Booker as 2024 tight end, which may tell us something about how they feel they sit with Bentancur, who's clearly option 1A.
Yeah. Well, just the tight end, no matter what direction they go with the offense, there's still going to be the old school Wisconsin elements to it. And the tight end is a very important part of that offense. So I wouldn't be opposed to taking tight ends. I've talked about taking that kind of GM NFL approach where you assess your roster and you do your offers based off needs, not off who graduates. If you graduate two DBs who are non-contributors, you don't just automatically offer two new DBs. Maybe you go somewhere else where you need a player, and tight end is a position of need. You got the in-state kid, obviously, that you'd love to have. He also has position versatility. But Bentancur, the kid's going to be able to go anywhere in the country. He's visited a ton of places. He's Texas A&M and all those places, the SEC schools. If he wants to leave home, if he wants to leave the Midwest, those might be hard to beat. But at the end of the day, I could see him staying in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And then if that is the case, you're looking to beat the Ohio States of the world.
The Notre Dames of the
But
world.
I do think Wisconsin, exactly. I do think Wisconsin has a legitimate shot. They're not out of this. This is a big time recruit. He was up on campus, I think, a few weeks ago. I talked to him beforehand. I think he got loved up pretty good when he went up. I didn't talk to him afterwards, but I know that was the plan going into having him up. And so I would not count Wisconsin out. I would say that they're probably a top 5 team, regardless of his offers from Clemson, Texas A&M, Florida, and God knows who else. Kid's a player. He can do a little bit of everything. Obviously a great receiver because he was a little thinner and more of a basketball type body when he was younger. He's put on a lot of weight and muscle, and he can be a flex guy, but he can also be an on the ball guy, and he's not afraid to break some heads either. So his recruitment does have a national feel, but there's a chance he could end up in the Midwest if he does decide that he wants to stay close to home. Should he do that? I think Wisconsin's a player here.
Definitely. Well, one of the other options that the Badgers are looking at tight end inside the state of Illinois actually is Grant Stec. And he's a kid who's come on a little bit more lately, starting to get a little bit more national attention. But if you want to look at some film breakdown of Bentancur, we did that back in August. But I want to look at Stec a little bit more because I think he's a very realistic possibility in this class too for the Badgers because they need two tight ends. They need two tight ends. So if you look at the group of Booker, who's an athlete, tight end, edge. He could grow into a 3-4 defensive end, I think, too.
No question.
As well as I think you look at a kid like Stec, and I think you look at his frame. I think he looks more like a Y to me, even though he plays a lot of his offense. We're gonna watch his film here in a second. His high school team runs the wishbone, and they split him out wide a ton, just as like a single X receiver. And against these like tiny kids playing DB, it's kind of funny at times, but it's enjoyable to watch him play. But I want to talk about him because he's a fascinating prospect to me.
He really is. Bentancur probably has a little more of that physical. He's grown into his frame a little bit more. Stec almost looks like that, huge, as you would call it, the jumbo slot type.
Yeah.
He has the frame to grow into a Y, an on the ball tight end. He will be that guy. He's 6'6". He's probably only around 220 right now. I don't know his exact weight. But you talk about a receiving threat and a guy who can also be, like I said, grow into an on the ball tight end if he bulks up a little, add some mass and strength. But he adds a different dimension to the pass game. You'll see on this film right here, look at the kid run. Everything is so natural, so smooth. He tracks the ball well, good body control. And the kid flat out flies for a guy that's his size. He is a long strider and he glides. He's faster I mean, you can tell he's fast. He's running away from kids. And granted, this isn't always the greatest competition, but he is a long strider, covers a lot of ground, and he is a lot faster than you think. I think he's got a chance to be very, very good. And, he's the complete package. Now, I don't think he's ready to put his hand in the dirt in the Big Ten right now, but I think he's a guy who could contribute probably right away as a receiver, as a jumbo slot, as you would say. And there's just so much to like about him. A ton of upside. Um, you know, runs really well. Like I said, it's super smooth, good body mechanics. You really can't go wrong with the kid. He's made a big jump from sophomore to junior year. Now, the thing with him as well is his recruitment has a little bit more of a Midwest feel than Bentancur's. Christian's been around the planet. He's been offered by everybody. Now, Stec has an impressive offer list, but there's a Big Ten feel to it. I could see Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, maybe Iowa State getting good looks here. And of the two, when you look at the offer list, Stec's probably the more realistic candidate. But, Christian had talked in the past of being a fan of Wisconsin and being intrigued by it. So you couldn't go wrong with either of these kids. I'm telling you, if you could get both and Booker, I mean, I'd take all three and just find a way to make it work. I remember one year at Dartmouth, we took like 5 quarterbacks. 2 of them ended up playing quarterback. 3 of them were all conference receivers or defensive backs. So you can find a way to make these guys work. And when you get players of this caliber and you get in on them and you have a chance, you take them if you can get them, because you'll always find room for guys like that on your roster.
Absolutely. Well, let's finish off today by talking about taking players and going out there and shooting your shot. Badger recruiting is shooting their shot at Mater Dei out in California. They yesterday went in and dropped not 1, not 2, not 3, but 10 or 12 offers at the California powerhouse. And that is something that I don't think I can remember in following this team for 20 years. Like, just 10 offers, same school, same day, just throw them out there. Like, this is a different approach. I think this is like they are turning over a new leaf. They are actually trying to compete in recruiting. Clint, what does this mean to you? What does this tell you about sort of the state of the Badgers, and now not just their relationship with, this very important high school, but just sort of their approach to recruiting, and, maybe what this all means for the kids that they're offering?
Well, I've said this in the past. The worst they can say is no, and you got to shoot your shot. In the past, Wisconsin has done well with kids in California, not as of late, but if you can really focus your approach for a place like that far away, like Mater Dei, you think about the history there. I'm pretty sure Joey Bose played there, who was a great player, also played with Jimmy and and Bernie, the Hebrew Hammer. Joey was a great player and then played in the CFL. And now he is actually the Bengals strength coach. So, if you want to look too much into the tea leaves, maybe we're seeing something built here where, Joey comes back to Wisconsin as well. That's pure speculation, so don't read into that too much. But, going out and making a splash and making it known, we're going to recruit your kids. They have offers. They have committable offers. And I heard that since they did offer all of those kids, there is a good chance that they will all be hopping on a flight and coming to Madison. And
Hop on a bird, baby. Get on that bird.
Get
on that bird. Land in Madison. Have them drive right down John Nolan into campus. All of them together. Love it. I love it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if you even make an impact on 2 of those kids in that program, and those guys go and play for national 7-on-7 teams on top of it, you talk about being aggressive. And I've said this for a long time: shoot your shot, identify where you're going to recruit, and be very calculated the way you do it. This is a calculated approach. This is shooting your shot. This is making a splash, and this makes headlines. Made headlines on the West Coast. You talk about a California-Wisconsin connection. Maybe one of these kids commits, and then a second, a third, and then maybe their friends at another school come in. So, I think it's brilliant. I think it's an aggressive recruiting approach. And if Wisconsin wants to compete in the modern age and not just, every couple of years go to a Rose Bowl, which don't get me wrong, that's fantastic for not being considered a blue blood program, even though they're one of the most winning programs there is, in recent history. This is how you do it. You want to compete with the big boys, you do big boy things, and
Yeah.
you go out and you throw it on the line. You offer a big group of kids like that, and like I said, I heard they may all be hopping on a plane and coming to Madison sometime very soon. So
And I think what it
it's
says in the big picture is that they mean business. Like they mean business. This is not a mom and
yeah,
pop recruiting operation anymore. This, I mean, they're not coming in like on a helicopter doing some what I will call some James Franklin ish, but they are, going out there and saying, "Hey, you know what? Like we're here. We are serious about recruiting nationally, being a power and showing, it because I think it does more than just gets those dozen kids or that school invigorated. It says to anyone following recruiting, any recruits out there, you see all these dudes that they know from these 7-on-7s. I got an offer from Wisconsin, got an offer Wisconsin. Shout out Coach Hansbrough, shout out Coach Leonard. Jimmy
yep.
Leonard is on Twitter. Paul Christ wasn't on Twitter. They couldn't even tag Paul Christ in a tweet thanking him for an offer. So baby steps, right? Baby steps. But
Yeah,
this
well,
is to me, this is a huge, massive signal. This means like we are
well,
in business.
you want to talk about forward thinking too. Who's coming to the Big Ten next?
USC, UCLA.
Correct. So those are going to start looking. Those guys are going to be looking at Big Ten teams. If they go somewhere, they're going to have a chance to come back and play against their hometown team as well. It's brilliant. I didn't see that coming necessarily. I did see some of this stuff, like the Alexander offer and commit coming, obviously, because I filmed it before it was out there, and nobody else really had that across the media, and I think it shocked a lot of people. But you know, if you want to compete with the big boys and you want to be a forward thinker, and you look at the conference realignment and basically the globalization when it comes to recruiting in the US. Now, you don't want to spread yourself too far and too thin, but if you're going to identify that as one area and pinpoint certain spots within that area, you can have a lot of success without, without putting a lot of resources into it and without spreading yourself too thin. So, if this is a preview of what's to come, I think the Badger fans will be very happy moving forward.
Excellent. Well, I think that certainly as someone who's followed recruiting for the team for a long time, this is as exciting a time as there's been since that that 2019 class that came in with Graham Mertz leading the way. But I mean, just sort of the energy coming out of the program is palpable, even 800 miles away where I live. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It is. It's good to see. You don't often see programs like Wisconsin who have been, I don't want to say in a bubble, but have had a winning formula. Sometimes it takes them a long time to adapt to the way college football is going. And I think the approach right now shows you that adaptation is ready to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And if given the resources, if named a head coach, could really be trending in the right direction. So everything that Wisconsin, I would have liked to have seen, from their recruiting department, just like any other Big Ten recruiting department that has had up and down years, is capitalize on your success, capitalize on a new coach, capitalize on your campus, get kids there, let them see the environment, and shoot your shot. Be specific in your approach. Don't make it all over the place. But where you do decide to be specific, shoot your shot and go for it. And if you get 10 kids on an airplane from California to come and watch Maryland play Wisconsin, I'd say that's a big win. That remains to be seen. I can't confirm that, but I have heard that might happen.
That would be pretty fun for all the Badger fans to see. So that is going to do it for us here today on Badger Blitz TV. He is Clint Cosgrove at Rivals_Clint on all of the social medias. I am at _Perko_. I very much regret having 2 underscores in my handle. It was really cool when I made it in like 2009. Now it takes 3 syllables to say one character, and it's very frustrating. Anyhow, that's me.
Why don't you just go with Perk Daddy?
That's just way too. Anything daddy is not gonna. That is not my steez, my friend. That is not my steez. Like, that's cool for some people. Like, that might be their vibe. That is not. That ain't me. Like, I really want
that's not how Perko operates.
I really just want the handle Perko with no underscores, just the 5-letter Perko. But I don't. I might have to buy it from the guy that.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I might have to raise some funds. So maybe if some of the people in the den want to help me buy that, I will be very happy to take your funds and maybe answer some special.
Perko.
Hey, listen, if you guys can get me that handle. You can come on the podcast. How about come on the podcast with me and Bernie? If you can get me the handle, we will have a special podcast dedicated to you, your Badger fandom, and chop it up with me and Bernie and Clint for an hour. Clint, I just brought you into this. Sorry, too late. All right, let's go.
I was about to volunteer, so I'm in.
Yeah, if someone buys me the handle just at Perko, you get an hour with me, Clint, and Bernie, and that's where we're at. Speaking of Bernie. He and I had Garrett Dooley on the podcast this week. That was really fun. That drops. We were recording on Wednesday, so that drops Thursday tomorrow. We recorded that yesterday. Man, we had a blast with Garrett Dooley. That guy's a great storyteller. You want to talk about awesome prep players, though. He was a beast of a linebacker in high school out of Rochester, Illinois. I went back and watched some of his high school tape. And he was just so much more bigger and athletic than all these dudes around him. And he was just thumping dudes left and right. It was really fun to watch.
Rochester plays some ball now. The Leonards, who his dad, I believe, just retired, is a Hall of Fame coach. But the other Leonard, his dad was at Sacred Heart Griffin. And then the younger Leonard is at Rochester. But they play some ball down there.
Yeah, they do. So that was really cool. Some really fun stories with him. So make sure to check that out anywhere you get podcasts. Make sure to subscribe to BadgerBlitz.com. Check out all the great content coming out from John McNamara and Seamus and Raul and everyone. I mean, just tons of stuff coming out right now. And you get the access to the Badgers Den, which is, well, let's face it, the best place for any Badger fan to be. So until next time, Clint, it's great to see you as always, and we will see you in the den.
In the den. Adios.